the reason for the prayer, as all of us know, and I'm saying this on behalf of people who are like watching in or maybe skeptical, is it actually changes the experience that we're having in life. Prayer is causative. Prayer is absolutely causative. So we get to set an intention, and it's not like we're commanding the universe to do what we want. What we're doing is opening up an invitation and allowing space for something new to be created. And then by some means that either becomes completely obvious to us or continues to be mysterious. I'm perfectly okay with coincidences. We do a prayer, for somebody to have a wonderful relationship. And at that moment, they just happen to bump into somebody on a train platform. And it seems like it doesn't have anything to do with the prayer. But then again, it's an infinite complex universe, so it does. So the first part of this is to give voice to some of the things that we want to, some of the transformation that we're looking for in the world. Today's Earth Day. And so there's a lot that's possible with the Earth. And there's also, as you might have heard, some stuff going on in the world around us. So just, as you want, you don't even need to raise your hand, just speak up and share what are some of the areas of transformation that you'd like to have happen, and see if you can phrase it in the positive for what you want the world to look like or feel like after the transformation.
I am ready to live in a world where all human consciousness understands that war is obsolete.
War is obsolete. I love it. Anybody else?
I'm going to just phrase it a little differently, but that that people on this planet look back and say, can you believe that there was a time when we used to have war on this planet?
That's even better. Like, yeah, silly old bear. How'd they think of that? Cool.
Would like to see us be better stewards of the earth, its animals, and its resources.
I'm going to take that up a notch to good stewards, because we could be better stewards of the earth and still be pretty bad at it.
Agreed.
And I want to take that up a notch and invite human consciousness to comprehend that there is no value system in the mind of God. All beings without exception, the microbes, the extremophiles, all beings are equal and have value.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
that's beautiful.
I would like to invite a greater consciousness of respect and with that respect, just compassion, to have respect for every being on the planet. Kindness, compassion, and respect.
Kindness, compassion.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, those are the watchwords: kindness, compassion, and respect. Like everything else can kind of get in line behind that. That's beautiful. Beautiful. Anybody else?
I'm just going to add to my previous thought about people wondering we used to have war, that we also say, oh, what? There used to be poverty and widespread disease. And so we've conquered those things, so we don't have them anymore.
Yeah. Do you know we are one clever invention away from solving all the problems? No, I don't know what it is. I don't know what that invention is, but that's,
I love that. Yeah.
Orville and Wilbur, there was no such thing as airplane flight, and then suddenly there's the TSA, and that didn't take long. And who back before that would have imagined, airline timetables? It's like, really? There are airports at every city? Cool. And that took 50 years.
I think we just need a tipping point, Bill, in consciousness.
And that's what it is.
You know,
And
I don't even think we need an invention. I think we just need a spurt of consciousness to get to a tipping point. And I remember always being told it was 5% to reach the tipping point. And I always think about, I look at the analogy of smoking cigarettes. When I was in labor with my son, I was smoking a cigarette in the hospital. When people decided that they didn't want smoking in our country anymore, boom, in 5 minutes, it was done. The consciousness shifted and you could smoke nowhere. Well, that's exactly the tipping point we need for our whole country to shift. We need a level of consciousness that says, we're not putting up with this anymore. We're not going to settle for anything less than kindness, respect, compassion, care for Mother Earth, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And when we get to that point, it'll happen in a second.
Yeah. Reverend Iris, I sent Reverend Bill a quote from Archimedes, right? Give me, a lever and a fulcrum and I can move mountains.
All we
Yeah.
really need is to find that 100th human monkey.
Exactly correct.
academic question for Linda Watson. How long does a transformation take?
Why would you be asking me?
Because it's fun to hear you say they're instantaneous.
I was going to say second.
Well, I was just thinking about Reverend Michael, and I was thinking about my dear friend Celeste, we grew up in that community, in the Agape community. I say grew up, I mean grew our consciousness, grew up spiritually there. And he just spoke with our practitioners the other night about this very topic, about what is here now that wasn't before, and where does it come from? And he particularly spoke about that there is now an invention. And when you said invention, Bill, I thought of this, that now can turn air into water, that there is now an invention. And he spoke about other things, but there was something very poignant about this idea of it all exists in mind. And so our work is to do everything we can to align ourselves with what already exists in mind. And when you said invention, I thought that's very much a part of it. Who thought there would ever be electric cars? And all the other things that are, but I remember a long time ago, a friend of mine who was in sales said, it's about finding a need and filling it. And that was his tagline. His name was Phil, P-H-I-L. And so he went about doing that. And it's almost as if when we become the receptive places in consciousness for what is ready to happen, then, the electric cars appear. I mean, where was that idea before we became aware of it?
Yeah. And you needed somebody who said, of course this is possible, and let's put legs on it. Now, there's some work to be done when that happens. Periodically, there's a place in the world where there's a terrible drought going on. And almost all the time, there's another place in the world where there's a terrible flood going on. So there's not an overabundance of water or a shortage of water. There's just a distribution issue. So,
right.
Because
electric cars were available way before you started seeing more of them, because the oil industry was blocking them.
Well, there's sort of you can find a list of becauses.
Yeah, they're trying to hold on to an old system.
Well, yeah, there's a bunch of that, and that's where consciousness comes in, because when we call up something new, then the transformation happens, and the old stuff falls away.
And what's interesting is that we get in it's a habit of thinking science fiction and fantasy, right? Just like, we used to watch the Jetsons and things. I don't know. But I mean, technology has come so far. It's like, wait, what? You know, just to be able to see those transformations. So
When I was a kid, there was a cartoon. It was in the newspaper, if you remember either of those. And it was Dick Tracy, and Dick Tracy had this cool watch, where
yeah,
he had a phone and a camera on his watch. 2 weeks ago, I got myself an Apple Watch, and I waited 6 years. I could have had the Dick Tracy thing a long time ago, but like now I'm being a dilettante about the whole
But
thing.
now you need a yellow fedora with a black hat band.
Yeah, well, no, it don't look good in yellow, but that's a different story. Things that were so fantastical within our lifetimes become transformational. Try and find a millennial who can imagine what the world is like without Google. Okay, they don't need to learn anything because they've got Google. Well, what if you're not near a phone? And they say, how can that happen? How is that possible? Of course, I'm going to be near a phone because that's the way the universe is shaped. And that transformation did not take long at all. I remember conversations, having discussions about whether the internet was going to be a thing. Seriously,
Yeah.
I think it probably is, but I'm still holding out. might go away. Anybody else? Something, because the limit here is imagination.
I think also, I feel like there's been a social regression across the board, and I haven't seen a lot of dialogue about this. And I like to read scientific journals and subscribe to Harvard, such and such. And just thinking, geez, I lost my thought.
I'll pick up on that thought while it comes back for you. It's like, because of X, Y, or Z, it's become acceptable to say things out loud that we used to have to keep to ourselves, because we would have to do it in person and without anonymity. So there was a little bit of accountability for what we were doing, and now there's trolling and bashing and all the rest of those things, and it's not unfashionable to be unkind.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's the social regression. I mean, across ages, like all ages. And there's sometimes before that, well, I'm not going to say sometimes, I haven't experienced a serious transformation in my life without, going through some difficult stuff before going through those challenges before the transformation happens.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of hiccups in the world right now. I think it's a perfect time because I think people, with COVID diminishing with each strain, there's great opportunity. And if we seize that opportunity to reach out and have those discussions, I think I don't know, I feel like there's a really good shot that transformation is around the corner, and a lot of fear in a lot of people's minds right now that they just, collectively, consciously can be difficult to get past.
Yeah. So the buzz phrase currently or lately has been a world that works for everyone. I love that. I love the idea of a world that works for everyone, until I realized that would include a world that works for Vladimir Putin. And I have some judgment about that. I have some judgment about helping to create a world that works for Vladimir Putin. I have some imagination about a bigger picture where he's going to have to be okay with something different than what he's been trying to go for now. But that's also, for me, been the difficulty when somebody says, pray for peace. Well, there are people who are being attacked who don't want peace because they're going to have to give up the stuff that's being taken away that's been taken away from them. So there's a settling out process that gets to happen. That's the unfolding in it. But I think even with that, there's a possibility for transformation, and it's not a long slog to get from where we are to where we want to be.
But part of that is our part too, Bill. I mean, because we have to be willing to hold even Putin in a way that we can be empathetic to whatever his fear is, that it's so severe that it can cause such mayhem in such horrible ways, and that we can send light, that we can send love. I mean, sometimes I've dropped into the hearts of politicians who were very distasteful, and when able to just see their vulnerability and just really take that edge off of myself from having to carry that disconnect and carry that disdain. It's not just for somebody outside of me, but it's for me, that I don't have to hold that energy of they're wrong in order for me to feel, better about everything. Perhaps we can just enroll in and embrace all of it and then transform it by doing so.
Yeah.
I was thinking about how, well, I liked what you just said, Bill, but this morning when I forget his name, the first talk, he was talking about Native Americans and eating, having to maybe kill an animal, but then knowing like you need to give back into the earth what clean water or not polluting, or a world where sustainability is easy. It is the easiest option. It's always, when it's the natural next step, it's like, it's more sustainable. Like it just goes around in a big circle when there's ease and comfort and joy and taking the personal accountability to make the choices and spread love and joy and peace and harmony. And, globally, I think, oh man, Putin's really horrible. But then on a personal level, like I got into an argument with my dad yesterday, and I'm like, well, how am I spreading joy? I'm yelling at some 75-year-old guy, like, who's like, ugh, like, when am I going to spread peace and joy? And those relationships that I don't, trickle down economics don't work, but I think trickle down love and spreading seeds of kindness, that it's got to work. So I know that a world of good and sustainability is possible. And we were just talking about electric vehicles and that transition. I mean, that analogy to the smoking is really powerful. That's so true. Like it's, people don't smoke like that anymore. It's in a grocery store or a mall, or, I remember being at the mall and there were ashtrays everywhere you went. It didn't even seem weird. And now that would be so bizarre. So that transformation to lift and turn our world, not just our, American society, but everywhere, into a place where doing the right thing for the environment and for your fellow human being is the natural and easy course.
I think you might have come up with the quote or the concept of this retreat, which is trickle down consciousness.
Bill, I wanted to tell you that I've been having some serious issues with Putin too. So I've taken my 15-minute morning meditation and converted it into 15 minutes of Ho'oponopono for Vladimir Putin.
Wow.
I know a lot of people who are praying for Putin. I would say also, I mean, just as an educator, I have would be the concern of the use of technology and yielding that balance of reaching people, but at the same time, I feel like technology has also been a shift in a kind of disconnect of community, and because people are constantly plugged in, like constantly, even at the dinner table, You know, like if you're eating, you know, people pull out their phones and look at their texts and stuff like that. So I think if we can, you know, find a way, well, I mean, it's just that find a way to utilize that resource for the greater value of humanity, you know, and to pass along history, because we get these little from the world, these little taglines and fear lines. You know, I grew up and there was no hurricane or storm warning going across my television screen. You know, everything nowadays is like, oh, there's rain, you know, be careful. And we've become so fear-based, and technology has a lot to do with that. And I think we could be better at communicating history, you know, the
important parts,
yeah,
instead of having everything be a catastrophe. Yeah,
exactly.
a lot of it comes out to being balance and harmony there. It's 25 after, so let's take it to prayer. So we will go.
By the way, I like that text that Robert sent through just a few minutes ago, that in a world that works for everyone, Putin would not what he wants now.
Okay, there's a big picture. I like that. Thank you,
I wanted to say
Robert.
that was great, Robert. Thank you.
Beautiful. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start. Everybody unmute your microphone just in preparation, because we're going to do a chamber of prayer, a cacophonous Zoom chamber of prayer. And start by just taking a moment of silence. Go ahead and go within. Settle into the space where you are right now. There's been a lot of ideas, a lot of concepts, a lot of amazing possibilities, a lot of profound points, a lot of challenging notions about loving those who seem so unlovable, and being able to look beyond the surface of what makes us judge them as unlovable and see the divinity within. All those things. Let's take them all in. Take a deep, full breath. Let yourself be filled with a brand new possibility. And release, let it go. Allow yourself to be right here and right now, aware of that infinite creative power and presence that is everything, that is everyone, that is everywhere. Another deep, full breath in. Breathe in a brand new possibility. That particular breath has never happened before. And again, let it go. Keep breathing at a pace that's comfortable for you, and allow yourself to become aware of that which you are desiring. And it doesn't have to be one thing. It can be a laundry list. It can be a tone, a texture, and a flavor. It can be an idea or a notion. Some idea of the positivity that you are inviting into the world. Some notion of that which you wish to have yourself and the rest of humanity and the rest of life experience as well. Breathe into an even greater picture, a greater experience, a greater idea of it. And I'll start us off. Just go into prayer and take as long as you're going to take. And when you're done, go into silence and listen to the rest of the cacophony as it finishes up. Knowing that there is one infinite power, one divine intelligence, one creative source that creates everything, that has created each of us, that has created every human, that has created every creature, everything that exists, everyone. That one divine power presence. It is God's love. Everything that we are aware of, everything here, planet Earth, everything that's everything in this manifest is that one divine power expression of itself in a new way. So to certain harmony
reveals itself in mighty ways and powerful ways and ways unknown to the general public.
There is the possibility for a world that works for everyone. There is a possibility that we can be stewards of this planet, take care of the creatures and the resources and
That's why I like going to
environment
church
in
and
such a
stuff.
way that we're all
Condemnations, I like going
it's
to accusations.
possible for consciousness
Consciousness
to
to
unfold and
reveal
reveal itself in
Breathe
that way.
it.
It brings more good to each of us individually and all of us together. There is the possibility for compassion, for respect, in all directions, in all directions. So I call upon this possibility. I invoke it, I accept it, I invite it, and I know that infinite great power that can create each of us is that innocence, that kindness, that compassion, compassion, and respect. And so with gratitude for this good already unfolding, I speak this word of invitation and I release it into the law that creates everything, knowing that it is already created. So I let it be.
It is accomplished
So I know it's
right
so.
here and right now.
So it is.
That means
And so it is.
Allow us to know that that line contains.
So-
Amen.
so it is. Amen.
Thank you, God. So it is. Amen.
Blessed be.
We are each of us individually and all of us together. The blessing, the channel through which the good is flowing. I'm so grateful for your participation in this session. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you, Bill.
You bet.
Thank
I think it's
you.
time to go back in the other room and have it